Peace, family. What's good? Thinking about shaving myself. Oh no. But we're going to talk about chapter 2 of Wealth, Health, and Success today. Let me just bring it up to refresh for a bit. This is no spoilers, so definitely still check out the book. But we really got to go over the thinking phase, how to get out of your mind, how to really start to build your discipline, and how to start building your health. The thinking phase is all about mental, emotional, and physical health. Why are you not successful? Because you say you're going to do things that you do not do. From I'm going to wash the dishes at, it's like 5:30 right now, I'll wash the dishes at 5 o'clock, and you wait until 7. That's the difference between I'm going to accomplish my goal this month, and I'm going to accomplish this goal by the end of the quarter, or by the end of the year, or in a decade. It really is that deep. I know it seems kind of small, but it's huge. The major thing that I hear people discuss, and even for me, the major complaint I had for a while, was that my parents didn't teach me this, my parents didn't teach me this, my parents didn't teach me this. Okay, maybe your parents taught it to you, and you weren't paying attention. Let's just give like some slack where slack is due. Maybe your parents knew absolutely nothing about it. Regardless of whether your parents taught you how to be a decent human being or not, there are plenty of resources on the internet, in the library, in the world, walking down the street, of people not murdering and killing each other. You know, I hear a lot about people saying that they had to get into tattoo artistry, or they had to get into stripping, or something like that, to avoid the street life. I've been homeless. I've never been arrested before. I've never committed any real crimes, maybe a misdemeanor here and there. I've never been to prison. I've never had to do anything in my life that would send me to prison. I've never had to deal with someone or so I don't understand that. I don't understand the comparison between I had to do something just as deplorable. I mean, tattoo artistry isn't that deplorable. There are a lot more jobs out there than being a stripper, though. You can feel how you want to feel about it, but that's the whole purpose and point of this all. The reason why Derek basically goes crazy is that he believes his girlfriend is doing the do out there to get money for rent, listening to rumors, listening to fake friends, listening to fake news and false information, and there are a myriad of other options that she could take because he takes a very dire option in order to be successful, in order to pay off the rent, in order to accomplish what they're trying to do, and now the motherfucker is crazy. Because he doesn't know what is real from what is fake, and as it's stated by Dr. Huxley, just basically your perception of what it means to achieve your goals versus what you need to do to achieve your goals. Write that down. Your perception of achieving your goal, of what you think it's going to feel like and what you think it's going to be like when you achieve your goal versus all the things that you're going to have to do to get to that point, that is the main reason why you're not successful. It isn't going to be financial planning. It's not going to be discipline. It's not going to be your love language. It's not going to be communication. It's going to be that right there. If you think that getting with a woman and having a lifelong relationship with a woman is going to allow for any point in the relationship for you to disrespect her, for you not to listen to her, for her to ask you to do something, and you're just like, no, and she's not going to find someone else to do it. Even if she goes with her brother, even if she goes with her sister, she now knows that she doesn't need to go with you, you know. Say likewise with a man. If you think you're going to be with a man and you're not going to add to his vision, you're going to change his whole way of life, you're going to take him away from his family. If you're dealing with a guy who doesn't want to be around his family, you're dealing with a really fucked up individual. You know, some people just want to be to themselves. Some people don't like being around their family all the time. That's great. If it's someone who never, ever, ever wants to be around their family, something happened there. Something happened there that caused some trauma, that caused some drama, male or female, and whatever issues that you two are going to have in your relationship is going to center and focus upon the first 20 years of that person's life. You know, if you're 40 at that time, you had 20 years, and then you had another 20. If you were kicked out of the house at 13, whatever you saw past the ages of 13, God bless you, might shape and mold you a bit more if you had a traumatic experience. I don't want to be anecdotal, but I like to use personal experience. Repping some college gear, university, undergraduate student government, got my KSU hat on. You know, when I was young, a lot of the habits that I had, and I brought these habits to college, is that I'm an intelligent, fucking, really fucking smart person. And even though I don't fully, I can admit within two regards, I'm very intelligent. I can also admit that I've never really pushed myself to the limits and capabilities of my intelligence. I've utilized my intelligence, I've utilized my brain to kind of get through. You know, I'm the guy that you've been studying for an exam for 5 nights straight, maybe 5 weeks straight. I walk in, I finish the exam in 5 minutes. I get an A, you get a C, and you don't know what happened. I'm the guy that steps on the wrestling mat, and you're waiting for a 6-minute gruesome toss-up. I hit you with an ankle pick in the first. I switch the ankle pick into a double leg. I hit the half Nelson in midair. Now you're in the back. Devastating combination. I've lost a match like that before. Hurt your fucking feelings. So, when I got to college, and, you know, the same rules still kind of applied. I could still do that to the highest degree. But when you're being introduced to brand new subjects that you've never seen before, you're being around people who might be intimidated by you, who may not have your best interest at heart, or might have your best interest at heart, but they don't know how to show it. That kind of reclusion that I was in, matched with that level of arrogance, led to a lot of self-destruction. It's something that you can fix, it's something that you can heal, but it's something that really stemmed from personal issues I was facing. It stemmed from my perspective of reality that I've changed and I've fixed and I've worked on. It stemmed from bad habits that I possessed, that I didn't do any drugs at that time. I really didn't. When I was messing up my life, I wasn't doing any drugs. So I didn't have any real coping mechanisms or habits or anyone to turn to during that time period. I was in college completely by myself. So I'm 17 years old, turning 20, turning into a man in a whole different state. And that's a rite of passage for some people. You go out, you kill something, you bring it home. You go out, you save the princess, you bring the princess home, and you become a king. I went out and I found myself. I went out and I saw the darkest side of who I was. I saw a serial monogamous who just had to be in a relationship to feel something, needed to have sex to feel something. That was my escape of sex. Arrogant, didn't really fully push himself to his limits, would sometimes get overwhelmed by things and not necessarily quit, but stop putting forth, like, this is like, oh, this is stupid, this is stupid, this is stupid, this is dumb, I don't need this, you know, because you're not the best at it. And let's just focus on that for a second. How you really fix that? One, I'll start with the sex issue. I'll start with any sense of addiction that you have, whether it's a porn addiction, a drug addiction. You have to begin to admit this thing that you're turning to for salvation isn't going to give you salvation. It's not going to give you deliverance. It's not going to change your life. It's not going to make you feel any better. It's going to leave you like a hamster in a wheel. Every woman that you need to go to for sex, that's not what they're there for. It's something that you can do with a woman if you're willing to procreate and you're willing to have this chick in your life for fucking ever. If you don't want her in your life forever, the best thing you can do with her is have a fucking conversation, because they are amazing at that. This is going deep. You know? I feel like I'm wearing a shirt that I've worn to do most of these evil, disgusting deeds. You know, they really are there for that. They're there to commune with. They're there to discuss. They're there to bounce ideas off of. They're there to help you. And if I could have saw that at 17, I could have had a harem. I could have had a harem of counselors and therapists and women doing amazing things in their life that I could just keep my dick out of. And that would have been a lot more powerful and a lot more purposeful than having a cell phone full of numbers and having to go, I can't talk to her, I can't talk to her, maybe I can talk to her. It's different. It's very different. So what kind of snapped me out of that was one, I found a serious relationship that I wanted to be a part of, and having the feeling of being cheated on. But that's technically not being cheated on, I guess, because I was in an open-minded kind of thing. But knowing that they might have been doing some of the things that I was doing, knowing that this doorway might have been open, it wasn't going to fly with me. It didn't feel right. I was so fucking pissed off and angry at it. We had so many more issues in our relationship a couple of years later after that. At first, it was thrilling and exciting. You're basically swinging. We're in two different states, sharing your sexual experiences, growing sexually at the same time together, supporting each other in that sexual journey. And then you realize that sex isn't a journey. Sex is a dead fucking stop. You get an STD, that's game over. Now it's not, because they want people to have as many STDs as possible. That raises your death rate. Not as much, because now we're having babies out of wedlock. And now these babies don't have mothers, they don't have fathers, they don't have parents, they have caretakers. Or the grandparents are taking care of them. The grandparents ain't got no fucking energy. A lot of these things make sense in the long run, they don't make sense in the short term. So you really gotta admit, you got a problem. If you're spending more money on alcohol or drugs than you're spending on, I wouldn't even say investing at that point. Because yes, investing, yes, financial planning, yes to the overall theme and idea, but if you're spending more money on drugs and alcohol and women than you are your family, than you are your own mental health, and I know that it might seem like that is the mental health, but it's not healthy for you. Discovering things that are healthy for you. If you're spending more money on drugs and alcohol and sex, then discovering things that you actually find joy in, not happiness. Joy is internal and eternal. Internal and eternal. Happiness is externality and temporary. It's the difference between having a wife and having a girlfriend. Find things that make you joyful. Find a new hobby. Find things that you're great at. And with that, invest in your talents. Invest in things that you know that you're great at. If I would have, oh my God, I say this over and over again. It might bring me to fucking tears. The amount of money that I've spent in my lifetime. The amount of time that I've had. If I would have invested that fully within myself, within my careers, and within anything that I wanted to do, becoming a professional wrestler, becoming a UFC fighter, becoming anything that I felt like doing in my lifetime, I would have been at a whole different fucking level. But I couldn't, because I was addicted. I couldn't because I thought the addiction was going to fix something. I thought that there was going to be some other force other than me in life that would save me. Because that's what you see all the time. You always see the hero of the story, the protagonist of the story, being plucked up in some organization, being plucked up by some group. In reality, it doesn't really happen that way. You might find a group to associate with. You may not even like that group. But IRL, you have to seek that group out. What's up?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's all right. You gotta find that group. You gotta find that person. You gotta cater and nurture a relationship with them. And that'll be the fifth thing, is you start putting that energy, you start putting that money, you start putting that time back into your relationships. There's nothing more important than having healthy relationships with people, because that is what keeps your sanity. That is what you're seeking when you're smoking by yourself or drinking by yourself, is you feel at that point no one understands you, so there's no point of speaking. So there's only time for physical action at that point. That's that person I was anyway. Is that at a certain point, I don't want to speak. I don't want to explain myself. I'm ready for that fucking action. Whether the action is competition, whether the action is physically putting my hands on somebody, whether the action is sex or going out to get some drugs or some shit like that, I'm ready for that action. What I found in time is that being able to talk to people about what is hurting you and just having someone listen for 30 minutes to an hour. It can be a therapist, it could be your wife if you want her to have that kind of information in your life. If it's your wife and not your girlfriend, because the girlfriend will use it against you, your wife will use it to console you. And that's when you can tell the difference between the two. Once you kind of switch that up, switch that paradigm, talking about your issues with people takes the pain away. Sometimes you got pain that conversation's not going to fix. Sometimes you want to celebrate. There's nothing wrong in my personal mind with, there's a difference between having a vice and having a habit. There's between having a habit and having an addiction. There's a far difference between having an addiction and having some fun. But when you're no longer using these things, when you're abusing people and you're abusing drugs and you're abusing yourself to get through everyday life, you got to stop yourself. You got to really analyze what you're doing. And the first step is honesty and looking yourself in the mirror and understanding, hey, there's something wrong here. Other people aren't going to understand it. I left college not because I flunked out, per se. I flunked out because of all the shit that was going on with me. At that time, there's no one to talk to. I did try to go into therapy. And, I don't know, it was cool. But it's like this, my issue with it is that you have to explain so much to a stranger. And it's kind of like editing a book in that way. And I'll kind of end on this and then we'll move forward in progression, because the book is going to describe this way better than I can. Just trying to speak it to you. I'm just trying to bring the themes to your mind over again. But it's kind of like writing a book in that regard, is that Natalie Goldberg says this in Writing Down the Bones. You have the editor and you have the creator. And the creator is fully unrestricted. The creator just lets the pen flow. There's no looking back on what you wrote. There's no looking back on what you said. There's no regret. There's no analyzation. There's no observation. There's just creation. There's just forward. And you don't lift your pen from the page. You don't think about what you're writing. You don't pause. You don't stop. You just keep fucking going. And then some of us try to write as the editor. You can't write as the editor. You can read as an editor, and then you won't get that far in a book, period, because you're going to be a hypercritical asshole. You're going to be way too angsty. You're going to have way too much anxiety about what's coming next. Because if you see a period at a place or a comma at a place or you got a fragment here, you're going to get all up in your asshole about, oh my god, I can't believe I did that. I'm such a terrible writer. I'm so fucking horrible. Like a lot of people do, unfortunately. Life is very much like that. It's that you flow at life. And you can live without regrets. You can live without issues. You can live without looking back. You can live without ever picking up your head to see what you're doing. But the point of both, you don't get a great piece of writing unless you have an editor. You have to create, you have to write, you have to live, you have to let those experiences flow, you have to make mistakes, inevitably so. But you do not move from a draft to a masterpiece, a magnum opus, a bestseller, an instant classic without having an editor. And if that internal editor or the external editor is too critical, it can ruin the book, just like abusive parents or hypercritical people can do, and overanalyzing you but never analyzing themselves, always pointing out your mistakes but never pointing out what you do wrong. An editor has to do both. An editor can't just look at what's wrong with the story. An editor has to look at what's right and what. The only way to know what's wrong with the story is to understand what's working for it. Once you understand the writer's style, you understand what the writer is trying to put on the paper. You basically understand what a person's trying to do with their life. Because if the person's goal is to sit on the couch and smoke weed all day, fucking vote, man. If you hold down a job, you can afford a weed habit, which is very expensive, and you got friends, lifelong friends who you love and you can speak to, and you guys can have a healthy, positive, high energy relationship doing that. That's great. If you got friends that you love going out to the bar with, and I would say this, I used to work in a bar. I used to be a security guard. You know, you have people that love to go out to drink. They love to go out and dance and party and have fun with their friends. That is not the same as the person sitting by the bar by themselves, pretending none of this stuff is happening while they drink themselves into oblivion. You have to know what is working well for somebody to understand what needs to be fixed, or else you're not going to understand why isn't this person achieving their goals? Why isn't this person in the field of diamonds? If all you can see is what is wrong, you're going to throw the whole thing out. You're going to throw the whole piece out. You're not going to have any room left. You're not going to have anything within the mold in order to tell this person, even just give it back and say, you have to rewrite this, but these are the things you need to focus on when you rewrite it. Instead, you're going to have to give it back like, oh, you're just a fuck up. You should never do this again. And that's why a lot of writers, unfortunately, have very low self-esteem, is because it's a very intrinsic, very personal piece of art. It's not just colors on a whiteboard or whatever the hell you want to criticize me for saying that shit. I'm not a drawer. I don't draw. I don't give a shit about painting. I think it's beautiful sometimes when people paint or take photography or some shit like that, but you're not analyzing yourself at all. It's nearly fucking impossible to analyze yourself in a piece of art. But when you write something, you are fully at the mercy of whether or not you have a door in between your subconscious and your conscious mind. If there's no door between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind or your preconscious mind, whatever comes in that paper is going to be 100% raw, 100% real, and it's going to be things that people don't want to cope with in reality. Open up Best Friends with this scene of a man being abused by his girlfriend. It's something that we never discuss in our country. It's something that makes you completely feel like the character is emasculated until you keep reading. And there's a lot of people that can only get through the first chapter of the book and they can't go any further. Because either it could be the writing style, yeah, but it could just, I can't handle a whole book of this. I can't handle seeing this. You know, seeing where this person's at and seeing where they need to go, and that's when we start cutting people off. We start leaving people to die, basically. And it's not necessary. We're not trained professionals. We're not therapists, but we do have the capability to listen. And if you understood the healing power of being an active listener and just hearing someone's story out, you don't have to deal with that person's pain, they do. You know, we listen to someone's story, and the pain that we feel from their story, we don't realize is our empathy. That's us feeling what that person is feeling only for a second, but this person lives with that pain. They exist with that pain. They make it through everything that you do in life, holding that pain inside of them. So bringing that self-awareness, it doesn't hurt that person. It strains your relationship. It destroys any chance of communication that you have. And then the destruction of that relationship will ultimately hurt you and hurt that person. But it's not the relationship within itself being lost that you're feeling pain. You're feeling pain because of the weight that this person is carrying. If you learn how to listen, and that's it, stuff like what happened with Derek wouldn't need to happen. I'm going to close with this because that was my last real thought. But this is something that's really changed and transformed my life. This is the power of speakers in school. For real, for real. So we had a speaker come in back my sophomore year of high school. I was still writing back then. I was writing The Guardians, The Rebirth of Minotaur Anki, but I never typed it up. Well, I did type it up. I just never released it. I never published it. And the computer that was on is broken now. But that's neither here nor there. And amazing speaker gave us this discussion that this man wrote a suicide letter. This is in California. And he's wrote a suicide letter. He plans to walk to the Golden State Bridge. And he's been having issues for a while. And if no one smiles at him while walking to the Golden State Bridge, he's going to jump. So he gets to the Golden State Bridge. He's prepared to jump. He steps over the barricade between the bridge and the Eternal. And a family stops him, and they ask him to take their picture. Now, he does it. He takes the picture. And then he jumps. Because that's the rudest fucking thing that you could possibly ever fucking do. It's crazy to me that even in the exchange of taking the picture, the family doesn't smile or anything like that. But it's not. If they did smile, it's not the genuine. It's the I hate to bother you with this. It's that fake shit that we do. If you hated to bother someone with it, you wouldn't have asked. If you didn't want to burden someone with your incompetence and your pain and your suffering, you keep it to yourself. So it was a mutual exchange of being a bad human. But one person lost their life, the other person got a picture. Ever since that, it's really transformed my outlook on everything. My whole perspective of the world is that if a smile could save a life, what can listening do? What can a conversation do? And that's really led me to do a lot of the work that I do now, a lot of the work that I see myself doing for a while, is that it's just that powerful. Learn how to listen. Learn how to follow through with what you hear. And just be supportive of people. There's no room for envy. There's no room for jealousy. There's no room to be intimidated by someone who's doing well, because you're only seeing the outside perspective of this person. You're only seeing, more than likely, because this is just how sick and sadistic we are as people, you only see your comparison. You're comparing yourself with everybody. That's how you choose your friend groups. You compare yourself to them. Why? There's no comparison. There's no equality. There's no equity. There's difference. There's change. So that's all for that. It's chapter 2. And with that, maybe let's just go over the questions real quick. I'm done talking. As far as the What You Learn session, this is really going to take you through how to get from the action phase to the thinking phase. There's about 13 questions here. So take some time with that. You can keep reading. You can finish the book and then come back and do the questions. You can do the questions as you read. Just don't let doing the questions slow you down from getting the full experience of the story. Thank you.